Hi there, and welcome to She Spice. 50 Cent's been ablaze recently, and it resembles he's only one stage away from totally exposing the entire diversion scene. Fans are saying that when he hits up the Club Shay webcast, it will be disorder cause the soil he has on these celebs crazy, essentially. That is what everyone's talking about now. Think about who's next on his hit rundown. As a matter of fact, the unparalleled Beyoncé, definitely Sovereign Bear herself. Seems like 50's got some hamburger with Jay-Z as well as with his significant other too. Now we as a whole get why he could have an unresolved issues with Jay-Z, what with those bits of gossip zooming around. About his obscure dealings, however, Beyoncé's forever been this completely flawless symbol, unapproachable according to people in general. Or thereabouts we thought, yet hold up cause 50's over here implying that perhaps Beyoncé ain't as immaculate as we suspect. He's dropping clues that there's something else to her besides what might be expected, that perhaps that faultless exterior is only a concealment for something more obscure. And what's the sensation he's probably sitting on? Prepare yourself, heck. He's guaranteeing Beyoncé's been playing somewhat round of force, exchanging favors with men to ascend that stepping stool. I realize it sounds wild. I mean, who'd try and envision Beyoncé following through with something like that? Yet before you excuse it altogether, consider it. There have been murmurs for a long time about her getting comfortable with various fellows in secret, and how frequently can somebody be up to speed in a similar embarrassment? Before there must be a reality to it, so lock in because we're going to dig profoundly into the secret of how Sovereign Bae supposedly got messed up in this wreck. Now you know how the gossip plant churns constantly. Well, word on the road is that previously Beyoncé secured it with Jay-Z. She was out there investigating her choices, assuming you get my meaning. However, here's where it gets fiery. Evidently, she wasn't barely something else doing her thing before the Jay-Z days. She was supposedly keeping her choices open even while she was with him. Better believe it, it seems as though Sovereign Bae could have had her own little program of good hairmen as an afterthought. Now we, as a whole, realize Beyoncé has a serious draw in the business. However, the tattle is proposing that once upon a time, before she was the stalwart she could have been cozying up to these fellows to acquire some influence. You realize like 2 or 3 objectives, whatnot jazz, and get this, in addition to the fact that she probably played the game, she likewise supposedly left these folks stranded while painting herself as the guiltless casualty. In the meantime, Beyoncé and Jay-Z are still over here carrying on with their best lives, so how about we dish a few names? Will we first focus on the supposed program? Terrence Howard. No doubt the person from Domain, seems like he could have been something beyond a co-star at one point presently, even before her notorious performance acts. Beyoncé was at that point blowing some people's minds as an individual from the initially 4 young lady bunch Predeterminations kid. She's dependably K'd in front of an audience. This carries us to the show that happened among Beyoncé and Terrence as an issue of reality in the past. She had in a real sense blown Terrence Howard's mind as of recently. Can't quit discussing it was a long time back yet. The YouTube clasp of that second actually gets remarks right up till now, guiding out the Domain entertainer's comical response towards Sovereign Bae's presence back in 2004. Predeterminations Kid dropped their steamy R&B jam tape. Care of you and allowed me to let you know it was a hit among fans, particularly the fellas. I mean the tunes about these ravishing young ladies promising to present a serious, tender, loving care to their men at whatever point. They kindly quick forward 17 years, however, and it's something else entirely. People are attempting to counteract the tune, calling its verses for being great, not precisely moderate with regards to ladies, especially lines like "My life would be purposeless without you," and "When you get back home late, tap me on my shoulder." I'll turn over aren't agreeing with the group nowadays yet. Rewind to 2005 and the situation were a ton different. Recall when Predeterminations Kid killed the stage with taking special care of you at the BET Grants. Those young ladies were ablaze, looking sharp and rich, bare, earthy colored dresses that embraced each bend, and I could go on and on about Beyoncé. People were directly up entranced by her excellence, with YouTube pundit actually fainting over her focuses on this day. Presently, here's where things get succulent. The young ladies were searching for 3 fortunate fellows to go along with them in front of an audience for a little cooking exceptional, and who does they once pick? As a matter of fact, Terrence Howard, who turned out to sit right close to her folks at first. Howard was all grins, yet as the exhibition went on his demeanor moved. It's like he turned out to be completely spellbound by Beyoncé's execution. Things purportedly got hot after that with Tails. flying left and correct about them being a thing. However, at that point, similarly as fast as it began, it evidently burnt out on the grounds that Howard's vocation began to experience a plunge occurrence. Few people think not back in the mid-2000s. He was near the very edge of being the following huge driving man. I mean, his Oscar-winning execution in Crash had everybody thinking he was going to assume control over Hollywood. Currently, he focuses on his 2008 T.R. ventures into the Wonder Universe with Iron Man as Roy. And he's making that sweet money while holding down a side hustle while being the most generously compensated entertainer in the film. Be that as it may, stand by and quick forward to 2010 and bam, where Chill dips in as Roy in the Iron Man continuation. The situation starts to get interesting. Supposedly, Terrence got hit with a monstrous compensation cut offer, like slicing it by half to 80% for Iron Man 2. However, here's where things get fascinating. Did he turn down the proposition himself, or were there a few in the background that show that my companion stays a secret? Diversion week by week, I spilled some steaming hot tea once upon a time. Proposing Terrence could have had somewhat of an attitude issue being a modest bunch on set. No doubt, that doesn't sound right now. Terrence Howard wasn't the only one gotten up to speed in those whirling bits of gossip about Beyoncé's claimed flings. Sean Paul's name got thrown in with the general mishmash too, particularly after those murmurs regarding him and Sovereign. Sound connecting, however, is very much like with Terrence. It seems like once Beyoncé got what she wanted from him, she left him in the residue while she and Jay-Z kept on sparkling. Supposedly, things got a little cold between them after they shot the music video for their hit Child Kid independently there the night prior to the video shoot. I was informed I'm not in a scene with her, which to me at the time I was contemplating the video was very surprising. I believed we would sort of act something out. Sean Paul himself chose to put any misinformation to rest on why he quit performing Child Kid with Beyoncé and whether there was any reality to those succulent bits of gossip during a meeting with the day-to-day monster. He let the cat out of the bag on a portion of his #1 coordinated efforts. First up, Booster Rhymes, since we should be genuine, and who would have zero desire to work with Boa. Sean Paul discussed feeling like he stepped up artistically by collaborating on tracks like Give Me the Light and Make It Applaud. Then there's Rihanna, whom he reinforced over their common love for Jamaica during a visit. However, when the subject of Beyoncé came up, Sean kept it genuine. He conceded they didn't precisely hang out yet, but he had a frantic regard for her music, and we should confront her staggering look. So when Sovereign Narrows connected for a collab, Sean was all in. He thought they planned to drop a R&B energy, yet it turned out to be a ballroom banger in spite of the track's enormous achievement. Sean Paul uncovered that he just got to perform it with Beyoncé multiple times, and that sort of mooched him out. So while visiting about the entire execution, dynamic Sean Paul dropped some genuine talk. He referenced how a portion of his long-lasting team out of nowhere became fans after only 3 exhibitions with Beyoncé, which sort of knocked his socks off. He reviewed one of those gigs as being at Reggie Sunfest during the 2003 Stone the Mick visit. Currently, Sovereign Bae wasn't on the visit consistently, yet she'd pop in on specific dates to do her thing, generally belting out insane in affection with Jay-Z. However, here's where things require an odd go. The second time Sean and Beyoncé were set to perform together, things got out of control. Sean was in LA doing his thing when he got word they planned to connect up for a child, so he surged over the group goes wild. However, at that point, something felt off, regardless of him giving it his all. He was unable to feel the energy from the Crow group, and that is the point at which it hit him. Someone had meddled with his mic behind the stage. His own group was raging, letting him know they couldn't hear a word he was expressing out there. Essentially, his mic got directly up and subverted. Now, whenever it first happened, Sean got over it as an error. However, when it reoccurred, he definitely knew something off-putting was going on. Sean had one more execution agreement with Beyoncé, this time in Scotland for AMTV occasion. They did the entire thing. Everything appeared to be going great. The arrangement was for Sean to spring up from under the stage to join Beyoncé at this large venue. Stage encompassed by fire sounds pretty awe-inspiring, right? Well, here's where things went left. When it was Sean's chance to spit his stanza, the track went all out of place, circling a similar part again and again. Shay's there like, what What's going on here? And that was the second it clicked for him. Somebody was attempting to meddle with his sparkle. Currently, here's where it gets delicious. Clearly, after this fiasco, Beyoncé chose to defy Sean about those troublesome dating bits of gossip since it was beginning to wreck with her rep. Recall the casualty card we discussed precisely, yet Ocean resembles hold up. I knew Jay before you, and we were cool, so perhaps me and him ought to visit first, yet Beyoncé's group wasn't having it. They made it perfectly clear they wouldn't have been working with Sean any longer. Then there's the VME's catastrophe. Beyoncé. Subscribe She Spice for more videos.